Hello and welcome to Off the Fence, a podcast where we deconstruct difficult decision making to try to figure out what keeps us stuck and how do we get unstuck. I'm your host, Karen Covey, a former divorce lawyer, mediator, and arbitrator turned coach, author, and entrepreneur. With me today, I have the pleasure of speaking with Samantha Boss. Sam is a certified divorce mediator and coach who empowers moms to protect themselves and their children's future by providing expert guidance on parenting plans and navigating high conflict exes. Sam is also the co-creator of the Next Chapter membership and the co-host of the podcast and YouTube channel Divorce with Sam and Leah. Sam, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Karen. I'm excited to have this chat.
I am really excited too. And I know you are a high conflict parenting coach, and you've got all kinds of tools and resources for women who are going through a similar situation. But I'd like to start with your story. What got you into this line of work? I think I know, but if you could tell the audience.
Well, like most, I went through a high conflict divorce and I didn't even know it was high conflict till I was knee deep in it. I didn't know what narcissism was. I didn't know what personality disorders were really. I'd never had anybody in my family like that. So as I was navigating my divorce, I didn't know all the steps. I didn't understand protecting yourself. I didn't understand lawyers and how to pick a good one. I didn't understand any of the things. I mean, I literally, and I say this, and I think people think I'm joking when I'm not. I grew up watching Young and the Restless. And when Jack Abbott would get divorced, he would hand somebody a blue trifold piece of paper. They would sign it and they would be divorced. So when I went through my divorce, I literally thought this is just us signing some paperwork and we're done. No, that's not it. So
Yeah.
I went through a 4-year battle. We started with 50-50 because I had an attorney advise me that that would look good for me. So I said yes to it, even though my ex-husband had never really watched the kids on his own. So I said yes to it. And my attorney at that time said, this will be a quick 6 weeks. Okay. 4 years later, we were finally divorced. 3 attorneys later, 5 judges, and $100,000 later, I was divorced. Yes, that was quick. I just didn't know anything. I was the problem. I was uneducated, unversed in what I was going through. I was naive. I thought if I just do this, it'll stop. If I just do this, it'll get easier. If I just do this. So as I was going through the process, my mom, religious as she is, she said, God has a plan for you. And I was like, well, it'd be nice if he would just, get it over with and tell me what it is. And I was an educator at the time. And she said, you never know. And so I got done with my divorce. I started my co-parenting journey, which stayed just as toxic as everything else. And I started helping my friends and family. They started asking questions as they were going through divorces, like, hey, what does this mean? And what should I pick here? And what should I do? And I got excited about helping them because I was able to fix the problems that I did wrong. So when there's something would come across, I'd be like, oh, don't do this, but do this instead. And so I just got addicted to helping people kind of fix their problems so they didn't have to go through the struggle I did. My current husband, when I met him, he was like, you have to do this for a living. And I thought he was crazy. I was like, there's no way. Like, I'm just a teacher. I'm just a mom. And I think me having the teaching background is what's really accelerated me being good at this, is because I know how to talk to people. I know how to manage multiple personalities like a classroom. And I just started creating a parenting plan that I knew would be perfect for high conflict. And I worked on it for years. And finally, I just had the courage to start this business and help people. And it has been the most rewarding, life-changing event of my life. I know that God had a huge plan in just making sure that I went through hell and back so that I could make sure other people don't have to.
Well, let's talk about that for a little bit. And I think what you do is so, so important, but people don't get it. If you haven't been through the high conflict divorce
Yeah.
yourself, you don't understand what it is or how it's different. So, can you explain to the audience what's the difference between a high conflict parenting plan and just a parenting plan in a for a normal divorcing couple? What's
Right.
different?
The details. And I always err people on the side of caution of making sure you see both versions before you pick the one you think is best for you. And I think it's great for people to have the intention of picking a parenting plan that works well for the dynamic they're having currently, which could be getting along. Maybe they decide, you know what, we're going to do what's best for kids, and we're just going to put all of our errands aside and be cordial and be friendly. And that sounds great. So a parenting plan that's built on that dynamic is very fluffy and very flexible, and communication is up for discussion, and making specifics about, hey, it just says, let's split the holidays and let's share the holidays and let's just let each other know about vacations. And hey, when you need help, call me. It's very flexible and very non-committed to anything, where a high conflict parenting plan is going to be, this is your specific time, this is your specific vacation rules, these are your specific communication rules, and it's down to factual contractual language instead of being so fluffy and so, easy gray area misinterpretation. So it's a drastic difference. It's worded completely different. And as we were talking before, I would much rather have every couple, whether they're getting along or not getting along, have that safety precaution for the what if by chance down the road as co-parents, you hit a roadblock where you don't get along. I would much rather you have that detail to fall back on than this fluffy, oh, we were going to be friends, but now we're not. And now we're left with very expensive paperwork that doesn't help us. It actually hurts us and causes more fights and arguments for the season that we're in now, which is not getting along.
Yeah. How do you, just give people an idea, if you can, what a normal parenting plan looks
Mhm.
like in terms of length versus a high conflict. If you're talking about really getting into the
Yeah.
details, how much does that add to a parenting plan?
Well, I will tell you, my personal parenting plan I thought was great when I first got it. It was 4 pages, and I was just so excited to be divorced after 4 years. I was like, oh my gosh, look at this paperwork. I finally have paperwork. 3 months after my divorce was finalized, I went to use said paperwork for a child's birthday to see what the rules were around the birthday, and it said nothing. And I'm like, whoa, whoa, whoa. It's got to be like on a back page on a, like, what, it's got to be here somewhere. So when you get a parenting plan from a judge or a lawyer that's not well versed in high conflict, it can range from 4 pages to maybe 10. But it's not about the length necessarily as what's in those paragraphs. But my parenting plan that I help produce for people as just a custom guide to take to their attorney or their mediation is starts at 18 pages and can go up to 30, because the whole point in high conflict parenting plans is to have detail and longevity. So if you're divorcing when your child is only 3, we don't want that parenting plan to only be written to, preschool. We want it to go to high school. So I cover diapers to diplomas. I cover it all. Because this is this thing where I think people need to have an eye-opening understanding that kids are not that different. Your children, my children, we all did the basic things. We all went to daycare, then we went to preschool, went to elementary, went to junior high. We started sports, we did activities, we got jobs, we got girlfriends, and we graduated. Like, all kids do basically the same thing. So let's make a plan for all said same things. Now, there's caveats and asterisks to that. I understand that. That's where that customization comes in.
What would you say to somebody? Because negotiating that much stuff is
Mm-hmm.
a lot, right? And when you're talking about negotiating it with someone who's high conflict, who you're already fighting with, the idea of going through that negotiation is pretty darn daunting, right?
Right.
You don't want to do that. And what if your ex just won't agree? What if your ex is saying, or soon to be ex is saying, look, no, I'm not going to agree to what they do in high school. How do we, they're in preschool now.
Right.
No, I'm not going to agree, or I'm not going to do that. Now what?
Well, this comes down to a couple things. First and foremost, who did you pick to be your salesman? Because your attorney has to be the salesman of this. It's kind of like when you want to sell your car and you want to do it yourself, you pick between you and your husband, who's better at bullshitting, who's better at really just saying the things that need to be said. And if that's not you don't do it, right? You have your husband do it, or you do it if you're the good. You have to pick the attorney that can go sell the idea that this parenting plan, with all of its detail and all of its longevity, will benefit your ex, your soon to be ex. It's going to benefit them greatly because it's going to protect that ex from you. Crazy. Because that's what they think, right? Your ex thinks you're crazy. Your ex thinks you're the problem in high conflict. So why not paint the picture that, hey, sir or ma'am, this detailed longevity parenting plan is going to protect you. It's going to save you money that she can't take you back to court. It's going to protect your time that she can't take you back to court. It's going to make sure you have all the responsibilities you want to have with your children and she can't take those away from you. So it's all about the sell from your attorney to the other side. And I'm not going to lie, you also have to be willing to take some things out. So if I hand 25 pages over to a high conflict person, and I know they're a control person, and I know they're high conflict, and I know they don't like me telling them what to do, I have to know that out of that 25 pages, they might cross out 3 or 4 or 5 pages. And I have to be okay with that as long as I don't have the things that I can't live without crossed out. So we add some fluff, we add some extra little things in there for them to have their power trip and say, absolutely not. And we let them cross those out. And then we act like it's the biggest deal in the world. Oh my gosh, I can't believe you crossed that out. I can't believe you took that. We let them have the power. And then at the end of the day, we have the 5 or 6 non-negotiables that we knew we could not let out are still there. But they had the last say, which is what high conflict people want. So we call it the fluff method. We add a bunch of fluff or some fluff and we let them take it away. But we also attach some money items to that. If you're dealing with high conflict, we know that money is their number one zinger that just, it gets their goat every time. Right. So we add caveats like, hey, if you give us this, we'll let up on this. If you give us this, we'll let up on this. And it could be, hey, if you let us control the school, we'll pay for it. The private school. If you let us, pick the extracurriculars, we'll pay for it. And we all know, and this is a training we give inside of the next chapter, if we attach money to us paying for it, which in hindsight is always the safest thing to do because it's guaranteed because you're not going to miss your own bills, you get what you want because high conflict people don't want to pay.
Interesting. So how do you, when you're helping someone craft a parenting plan, how do you know what fluff to put in and which provisions are non-negotiable?
Well, I've been doing this for over decades, so I know absolutely what fluffs that we are allowing to take out, and I coach them on that, and I know the non-negotiables. First non-negotiable you can just never let up on is detail on time. Your time with your children is the most valuable thing written into that parenting plan. Your time around your visitation time, your holiday time, and your vacation time. Those 3 things right there, you will never budge on. Decision making, this is one that will always bring you back to court. Your decision making has to be airtight, written in your parenting plan. It can't just say both parties will later determine, both parties will later discuss, both parties will later have a conversation. I mean, we're not having coffee, folks. We're not buddies anymore. So those decisions, again, diapers to diplomas, needs to be wrote out. And I go with the methodology of this. I would rather you pick a wrong decision for your child than no decision. Because if you leave the decisions out, and this is again your salesmanship from your attorney to that attorney, if you leave decisions out, you're guaranteeing 1, if not 2 things. You either have to work together, which you don't want to do because you don't like each other, or you're spending money to go back. Those are 2 things I don't want to do. Once I'm divorced, I don't want to work with you. And I sure as hell don't want to be spending more money on you. So I would rather pick a wrong decision. Maybe I say, you know what? We said that we could do 2 extracurriculars with, I wish we would have put 3. But I at least know we have 2 and I'm ready to suck it up and deal with just 2 because I don't want to talk with them and I don't want to spend more money. So I'll suck it up and deal with 2. A wrong decision can be okay. A no decision, you're guaranteeing more money spent or more heartache.
I love that. But I want to talk about your salesman, i.e. your lawyer,
Yeah.
right? Because in my experience, I mean, and I practiced divorce law for decades, right? Every single lawyer has their own template. There is no one form that everybody uses. That would be a beautiful thing, but it doesn't exist, right? So when you, as the client, come to an attorney and say, here, this is what I want. I mean, how do you,
Well, there's where you go wrong. There's where you go wrong. You can't deliver it like that. So we have to know personalities first and foremost. Okay. And I didn't mean to interrupt you. I apologize, but we have to know personalities. Your attorneys spend an assload of money on their education, right? They got all those plaques on the wall. They're proud of themselves. They have an ego and they should because they did something that most people can't graduate from and do, right? So if I walked in there and said, here, my attorney is going to be offended and upset with me and not want to work with me versus if I do this. I am so glad I got referred to you and that consultation that you made me feel so comfortable. I cannot wait to pick your brain. Now, I have a learning style that's visual and my anxiety and squirrel brain of ADHD is all over the place right now. I'm petrified about my bills. I'm petrified about my kids. So I did the best thing I could, which is to take all the scrambled mess that's up here and I put it on paper. I have all of my thoughts down about what I think visitation should be, holidays. I wrote it all down for you. I would love for you to look at it and give me your opinion. Do you think this is doable? Do you think this would work for my type of case? I'm asking it as a question to my attorney and I'm saying, This is how I learn, and this is how I work, and this is how my brain functions, is to have things on paper. Plus, I'd really like to cut down on money being spent on this divorce. So I thought the best thing to do is to tell you exactly what I want on paper, and for you to try to go get as much of it as you possibly can, using the skills you talked about in that consultation, that you're a shark and you know how to negotiate and you're a master at it and you've worked with that office before and you know that attorney. So I'm complimenting. It's a sandwich technique. I praise, I ask, I praise with my attorney versus telling them what to do.
I love that. I mean, I love the idea. What you do is you're working with the psychology of another human, which is
Yes.
what I coach all of my clients on, not only in parenting, but in the entire divorce process and beyond, that you
Yes.
will get so much
Further.
farther by doing
Mm-hmm.
that than
Mm-hmm.
you will by just doing some cookie cutter thing or pretending everything is going to be fine. No, it's not. I
Yes.
agree with you 100% on the presentation, but what is this person
Mm-hmm.
presenting? Are they presenting to the lawyer a totally complete
Completed.
parenting plan, or is it bullet points? Because still, I mean, the lawyers have an ego,
Yes.
right?
Mm-hmm. They
And
do.
they also have experience with this is how I do it. This is how I've written my parenting plans for,
Decades.
decades.
Right.
I don't want your
Right.
parenting plan. So how do you get them, like, what are you presenting to them to get
Mm-hmm.
buy-in?
Okay, I'll answer that first, and I'm going to go backwards. So I am what I build for people is a custom built parenting plan guide, meaning it is a parenting plan essentially without the formalities of names and numbers on it. It has everything in there from joint all the way to reimbursement policy, everything in between. And so it is a full blown paragraph headers, can be just cut and pasted right into the lawyer's own header pages and formatted. Just it's essentially a parenting plan draft, right? So I would be handing that, but here's where I go backwards a little bit. I have changed in the past, I'd say 3 years of how I coach people. That before I hire an attorney, before I ever step foot for a consultation, before I ever call a single attorney, I already have my parenting plan done because I want to use that as my interviewing step. When I go into that consultation to meet with an attorney, I'm going to say, tell me a little bit about yourself, your background, what are your specialties, what kind of clients do you prefer to have, blah, blah, blah. And here's where I'm going to tell you what kind of attorney I want. I want an attorney that's going to allow me to keep continuing on with an education and is going to push for me to have a divorce coach, that's going to push for me to have a parenting plan written myself, because who knows the kids better than me? Nobody. So that's the plan for my future and my children. Why shouldn't I be the author of that paperwork? And you will find attorneys will either be offended in that consultation that you want to go out and achieve that on your own, or they're going to love it. And here's why it's so important to find one that loves it. Because the attorney that respects that you are educated about right of first refusal and how many weeks is too many weeks for vacation and all that, they know that you understand that, then they can spend most of their time going out and being a salesman, or spend most of their time in high conflict putting out fires, which is what you need them to be doing all the time. And they don't have to focus on the nitty gritty paperwork that you can fill out yourself. I mean, that paperwork, that parenting plan, hear me when I say this, parents, it's yours. It's your guideline, your playbook. It's not your lawyers. It's not your judges. It's your paperwork. Why would you not be the one writing it? You want to use the template that Larry, the lawyer's been using since '08? Good luck. It's out of date. It's out of touch. It's out of reality, and it doesn't fit high conflict. And you'll realize that if you use his versus, do your kids have special needs? Do they have neurodivergent disorder? Do they have something going on? Do you have one of you have a shift working job? Those templates that they use don't fit your situation. You should be the author. And the lawyer that sits in a consultation and is put back going, I love this. This is good. That's the lawyer you hire, versus the one that says, yeah, we'll never use that. Oh, okay. You don't want my thoughts about my children and my future? Got it. Because I was just asking your opinion, but you didn't even read it. That's not the lawyer I hire.
So you come in to an initial consultation
With
with
it
the
done.
parenting plan and you show it to them.
Yeah, you say all that sandwich comment. I love it. You've been referred. You're amazing. I would really love for you to scan this over, see what you think. I put a lot of effort in this. This is what I want for me and my children's future and the relationship I'd like to have with my co-parent. This is a non-negotiable for me. If you'd be willing to take this on and use this as the starting draft, I'm not saying it has to be the final, but the starting draft, this is how hard I want to go. And if that's not what you can't do for me, tell me now and we're done with the consultation. I'm not going to give you a $10,000 retainer for you to tell me 2 weeks from now when I show it to you that it's not going to work, because then I'm going to be mad. I'm going to be upset that I went and built it and then you said no to me. I believed in you. So it's a way to really just cross-reference whether your attorney is a good fit for you, because this parenting plan of high conflict detail and longevity is what you're going to have to have. And if attorney isn't supporting that, then I'd have to ask the question, are they just not educated about what high conflict is? Then they're not a good fit for me. Or do they just want my money for week after week, month after month, year after year, because they know I'm going to keep having to come back if it doesn't have detail? And that's not the attorney for me.
So, first of all, I totally freaking love this. I
Yeah.
mean, this is amazing. It's what we are so on the same page,
Yep.
to find the lawyer who actually listens to you, who is willing to, be flexible and to do your due diligence before you even walk into that office. What process does that lawyer like to use? What are they good at? What are they,
Yeah.
because nobody is good at every
Everything.
single thing,
Correct.
right?
That should be one of your questions. Tell me something you love to do as a lawyer. Tell me something that bothers you, that your weakest point that you struggle with. And if they can't say, oh, nothing, I'm really, no, no. I want to know, do you suck at paperwork? Do you hate being in court? Do you not like status hearings? Like, you got to tell me the truth, because I'm going to tell you the truth, what I'm good at and what I'm not good at. As a client, you got to tell me the same thing as an attorney. That's a great question to ask in the interview process.
I love that. I
Mhm.
totally do. But let's talk for a minute about process, right? Because I am a firm believer, and a lot of my colleagues take issue with this, but I think you have to understand and choose your divorce process. Which way would you like to do this before you choose the attorney? Because if you walk into an attorney's office first, they're going to sell you on whatever it is that they do.
Right.
Obviously, they think that's going to be the best because that's what they do, right?
Right.
And so, but it's not necessarily the best for you. So, what do you think about something like that? Should you go into an attorney's office knowing, yeah, I know this is a high conflict situation, but I think we can navigate through a mediation and that'll be more effective in our situation, or a collaborative divorce which is more supported will be good, or a none of that stuff's going to work, we've got to go to court. I mean,
Yeah.
what do you think about choosing the process before the lawyer?
Well, I think any office that you go into a consultation with that doesn't even tell you there's other options besides just court, you shouldn't pick that office. Because even in high conflict, you can use mediation as a way to find out a lot of information and or get some things put in that you wouldn't be able to get said in court. So I mean, I think any law office, I agree with you, that doesn't tell you and isn't transparent about all your options is not the law office for you. You guys, there's a law office. There's 5 in every town. Like, you can shop around and look around and go to a neighboring town. I think too many people just jump on the first horse and like, I got sold. I mean, I got sold on marble floors and Dove chocolates in the bathroom. I got wooed by how fancy the office was, and she was wearing Louis Vuittons. And I'm like, this is the woman for me. Now, granted, I bought her probably about 17 pairs of Louis Vuittons after this whole case was over. But I think it's good that, not every high conflict divorce can be done in mediation or collaboration. And a lot of them do go to court. But man, do you know how much stuff I can find out about what they're going to bring to court during mediation? Because they'll just run their mouth and talk, so there's other ways you could start that way and maybe have to pivot. But if that law office, I agree with you, doesn't tell you all your options, because most people don't know. They think, I'm divorced. They're like me, one track paperwork, and that's it. No, there's a whole bunch of different ways to get divorced. But if you're truly high conflict and we have personality disorders or we have a diagnosis of something, you're most likely going to end in court at some point. But you can try. I'd rather know I tried to do it as safely and or less expensively as possible. And if I end there, fine. But most offices, when you walk in and say we're high conflict, oh, you're gonna have to go to court. And
Exactly.
they don't even give you the option to try anything else. When some of you, I'm just going to tell you, that money talks. That money talks sometimes. If you're like, hey, I'm willing to walk away from the house if they sign me this, this, this. And most attorneys are like, well, you can't give money in the, I know, but I'm telling you, if we go to collaboration or we go to mediation, I offer that, they will sign it. And attorneys will be like, no, they won't sign that. Yes, they will. They'll sign it because they're crazy. And money is the most important thing to them. It's their pulse, so, I think that going back to what you originally asked, you have to understand the psychology of who you're divorcing. And so many of us go into a divorce like, this is what I want. I want this for the kids. I want this. I want this. I want that. You got to, if your lawyer doesn't tell you to take that hat off and put on your ex's hat or soon to be ex's hat and really think from their perspective, again, not your attorney, because they're in it for just your track. They got to look at the whole picture to do a good job.
Yeah. Oh God, there's so much in here that I'd love to
I
dive
know. I
into.
know.
But people think too that something like mediation, that it's an all or nothing proposition, right?
Hmm.
Either you completely settle in mediation or it
No.
was a failure.
Yeah.
Not
Not
true. I
true.
love
Right.
that you point out that you can get information in mediation, and that depends on what type of mediation you're
Yeah.
doing. Sometimes you
Yeah.
don't get that opportunity. But if nothing else, if you walk into mediation with a list of 20 issues that you got
Parenting
to
plan. Hmm.
resolve, and you walk out and you didn't settle everything, but 10 of those issues are gone because you made an agreement on that,
Yes.
yay, that's some success. I mean, the way the law
Yes.
works, the way this system works, it's the same way that a doctor does a differential diagnosis. You
Hmm.
come in, you've got a list of symptoms, and they're like, well, it could be these 10 different things. And then they ask, and they're like, oh, well, it's not that, it's not that, it's not that. And then you're left
You're
with the
down.
narrow
Hmm.
lane of this is what it is. And that's the same way divorce works, where you
Yes.
walk in, you've got all these issues, and you're like, okay, well, this one we can resolve, this one we can settle, this we could do, and then you're only left with this much.
Yes.
It becomes much less expensive to try a case that has two or three issues in it
Yeah.
than 30. And when you
100%.
when you try 30, do you think the judge is going to really listen and give
Right.
you like a detailed analysis of 30 issues? Not
No.
unless you're Rockefeller. Like,
No, it's
no.
not going to happen. And you're going to be stuck with one of those horrible templates that the state provides. And it's god awful for you. And I don't wish that upon anybody because that's what I ended up with, right? We went to mediation. My ex-husband, the mediator started with, she's like, let's start with holidays. And I'm like, okay, we've been doing 50-50 for like 6 months to 8 months. Sounds good. And she's like, I think we could both can sit here and agree that you get Father's Day, she gets Mother's Day. Let's start with a solid win here, guys. Like her name was Karen, and she was just so, so perfect for us. And he looked her dead in the face and he goes, not if it's my weekend, she doesn't get it. And Karen tried to explain that that's not how this worked and holidays supersede visitation. And he didn't want anything of it. He said, no, I'm going to have full custody. I'm going to be taking these kids from her. She's going to be paying me child support. I'm done here. And Karen looked at me and we let him leave. And she just said, sister, you're going to court. She's like, this man is not going to agree on anything. And so I had a severely high conflict case, right? It drug out for 4 more years. We went to court and we got handed a 4-page parenting plan from the judge because he was just like, we had an 8-day trial, 43 witnesses, 41 of them were his. And it was just this huge, big episode to where the judge was so tired of us that he's like, they get this, and I'm done with it because it drug out for so long. And it was such this big, huge ordeal. And the judge gave us a template that, I mean, our judge retired the year after our case. So that tells you anything. And I think he was using a template from 84 and it was horrible and it didn't serve us. And it caused us to go to court 300 more times after that. And our case just got out of hand.
You went to court 300 times?
I have 300 court entries. I had validated parking. I knew all the bailiffs' names and their wives' names. I lived in the courtroom every 3 weeks to 3 months. 3 months was the longest I went without being in court for 8 years. He took me to court for crossing the street wrong. It was all his motions. I did not take him back because I didn't need to. All I had to do was wait for him to take me for something. And I knew I could bring up my thing. So, I mean, but it was every time he went to where he was pro se because so many attorneys fired him because it was just undue cause, to where my attorney was like, Sam, like, I hate to charge you for the prep of this, but we got to prep. And then, a lot of times he would cancel at the last minute. So then I would pay for all the prep with my attorney and then he's pro se. So he'd cancel and it got out of hand until we had this last judge. And I will give her credit, Judge Hill. Finally, at the end of my case, and again, I'm sure she's retired now, she said it was the first day on our case. She pulled in or walked in and they pulled our case in on a dolly, and box after box after box. And she looked at her bailiff and she said, what is that? And he goes, this is the case. And she goes, for the day, those are all the cases I have today. And he goes, no, ma'am, this is their case. And she stood up and she said, I don't know what's going on here because this is my first day with the two of you. But moving forward, anybody that files a motion, if you lose, you pay for all of us to be here yourself. She's like, that's ridiculous. And I cried. I was sitting there crying, like, thank you. I sent her a thank you card, Karen. I didn't know the rules about how you can't talk to judges.
Right.
I sent a thank you card to the courthouse and I just said, Dear Judge Hill, thank you so much for finally seeing the financial abuse that I've been under for a decade. And I signed my name. And the next time we went to court, which was shortly thereafter, she said, which one of you sent me a thank you card? Cause she's like, that's illegal. You cannot do that. And I didn't know what the rules were, but I was bawling because I've been financially abused for years. I mean, $113,000 was the ending total in 8 years back, in early 2000s. Now that'd be an easy $250,000 in this decade now. Yeah.
That's
On a
crazy.
dolly, on a boxes, 4 big boxes on a dolly was our case.
That's
Because it was
nuts.
just, it's what so I mean, that's the reason I built a parenting plan, is because my parenting plan did not serve us, which left me with no choice to work with him. And he wasn't even going to give me Mother's Day. So I couldn't work with him. So my only choice was to use the court system.
Right.
And it burned my family. My parents had to cash in retirements. I was broke. I had loans all over the place, credit cards charged all over the place, living paycheck to paycheck, running side job after side job. And the person that it affected the most were my kids, because they saw me financially abused. I was broke. I was stressed. I was anxious. I was head on a swivel all the time, looking over my shoulder, like, what am I doing wrong? What am I doing wrong? I didn't know how to have confidence. I was beat down. I was broken. It was miserable for 8 years. Miserable until I woke up one day, snapped out of it, became a new person, and my life has been uphill ever since, in a better way. So I don't wish it upon anybody. And it can be easily fixed through education, great communication with your attorney, and picking the right attorney, and just, perseverance of not stopping. Your kids, and what your future wants to look like. Make it happen.
I'm just curious, what was that moment when you woke up? What happened?
It was something so juvenile. It was literally a day where we argued over $72. We were getting along for this small moment of time, and I sent a bill for $72, and he flipped out, and that was typical behavior. But then I caught myself kissing his ass. And as I was talking to him and leaving him a voicemail and totally just like giving into him and telling him everything he was great, he was wonderful, blah blah blah. I apologize. I caught myself like this above version going, you're apologizing for asking for a reimbursement that is court ordered from a man that's just making you feel bad so that he doesn't have to give you the 30 some bucks. And I was like, what are you doing? You're groveling with a man that keeps treating you this. What are you doing? And at that moment, I thought, he's not going to get me like that. He loved that I groveled. He loved that I had that voicemail. He loved that that's the behavior I would do. He'd push me down. I would kiss his ass every time. And my therapist finally, when I went and told her what I did, she goes, so let me get this straight. Every time he mistreats you, you treat him better. So why would he not keep mistreating you? Because then you kill him with kindness, even more so than you did the time before that. And she's like, why don't we change it to he doesn't get you anymore? And the second I started putting boundaries up with, I don't care if you don't pay, you're not going to affect me. I'll find a way. I always do. And I learned communication boundaries, and I started to learn how to talk to myself better. And I started doing affirmations, and I started exercising and taking care of my health. And I was sleeping for the first time in a decade. All the things. It was just like I cut him out. He was such a huge part of my day-to-day thinking. What will he say? What will he think? How will he get mad? Will he be upset? Will he file for this? Blah, blah, blah. I thought about him all the time. So I had to reprogram who I was, how I thought. And the second he saw me getting confident and stronger mentally and physically, I became scary. And he didn't come for me anymore because he saw that I wasn't weak. And he switched over to my children, but then they saw me strong. So then they became strong. And it was just it was a beautiful domino effect that I wish I would have started. I mean, day one of the divorce. And I just didn't know. I thought I would always have to give in to this man because you're told, be a good co-parent, work with them, talk with them. You have to do this. You have to. Well, I had an abusive ex who didn't stop just because we got divorced. So it was a big learning curve, but it was over $72. Over $72.
Wow.
I flipped a switch, and just, I could see myself on that phone call looking down at me going, what are you doing? Look at you. Look what you're saying to the man that just like yelled and screamed and called you everything but a white woman. Like you're groveling with him. What are you doing? You're better than this. I saw my dad talking to me like, Sam, you were not raised like this. You don't let people treat. It was all the things just came crashing in on that one day in my bedroom, and it just flipped a switch in me. I was like, I can't do this, because what I started to see was my kids starting to give in to him. And my kids were starting to act like me and like, Mom, we just have to. Mom, we just have to be nice to him. Mom, we just have to. And I was like, oh my gosh, they learned that from me. They learned people pleasing from me. And so it was a switch. I couldn't do it.
That wow. Wow, wow, wow. I love that. I love your story. I mean, not what you went through, but
Yeah,
what you made of
I was
it, that you
supposed to.
turned everything around.
Mhm.
It's amazing. I think people are gonna love it. They're gonna love you. And the message that you have. If people want to find you or they want to learn more from you, where's the best place for them to find you?
Very easy. Just go to samanthaboss.com. Everything is there. If you've heard me talk about parenting plans, it's there. If it's too pricey for you, which I completely respect and understand, I do a master class where I just teach about it. So if you have a quick hand and you can hit pause, write, and watch that master class about parenting plans, you can build yourself right there on your own computer. So I have the master class and I have a parenting plan. And then I have the amazing, membership group with Leah Marie from Mindfully Ready called The Next Chapter. And it's just a support group for moms that are going through a high conflict divorce. We have a classroom full of over 100 hours worth of trainings. We have Q&As every month. And it's just a great place to feel validation and support. My story is very similar to most of the women that are in there right now, dealing with the same type of person that they're divorcing and trying to co-parent with. So yes, samanthaboss.com. All the things that I talked about today are found there.
Samantha, wow. All I can say is, wow, this has been a powerhouse of a conversation. Totally love it. I know everybody else
Yeah.
is going to too. And guys, if you're watching, if you're listening, if you enjoyed this episode, do me a big favor, give it a thumbs up, like the episode, subscribe to the podcast, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Sam, thank you one more time, and I look forward to seeing all of you next time.
Thanks for having me.